There once was a ship put to the skies. The name of the ship was the Enterprise. Her nacelles lit, her phasers armed, oh blow, you red shirts blow. Soon may the flagship come, bring us Earl Grey tea and Orion rum. One day when the scanning is done, engage and boldly go. Been not 2 weeks from Sector 1 when we were sacked by Romulans. Red alert was called when Captain said torpedoes make it so. Soon may the flagship come, bring us Earl Grey tea and Orion rum. One day when the scanning is done, engage and boldly go.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Star Trek Wars Council Roundtable. We're back again to talk about Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. I'm Senior Council Member James King, and joining me is Lainey Boyler.
Hello!
Derek Moore.
Greetings and salutations.
And Joseph Adams.
Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream.
What had to?
Why aren't you joining in?
Because we were waiting to... they sing it in the round, so we don't come in until the second reprise, do we?
No. No, because he goes... You have to choose how many seconds you do a round in. So you'd come in after stream, and then the next person would come after you came in. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Oh, we'll do that at the end. That can be as outro music.
You do realise that doing that,
if not
like physically in the same room, that's going to be pretty much impossible without some technical wizardry.
It'll sound glorious.
I think we'll nail it. We will nail it. That's something to look forward to. So, but you know, we are going to come out with some fantastic material in between now and then. So don't just skip to the end of the podcast because you really want to hear us singing "Row, row, row your boat," because you know there's going to be some good stuff before then.
And you'll probably edit the row, row, row your bit out. Anyway.
I will not. That's going to be my favourite bit. That's going to be a magic moment. I'm really looking forward to
make sure we do it.
I am welling up just thinking about it. So it's going to be that magical. So yes, Star Trek V. Yeah, right then. I don't even know where to start. Joe, you start us off. When did you first see Star Trek V? What did you think about it?
Okay, so this was one of the first Star Trek films I ever saw. My dad had it on VHS. I'm a kid, or slightly older kid, so I didn't know good from bad. I thought it was okay, I guess. I mean, I didn't love it, so yeah. I mean, then I had all the people talking rubbish about it, and I thought, well, I'm not that again. But I've seen it a few times since, and I've seen it now again with fresh eyes. So you'll be hearing what I think about it when we talk about it. But I mean, you can tell from the tone of my voice that it wasn't like Trek 4 level good by any means.
No, I think that's fair.
Oh, by the way, now that Alexandra here, we don't have to pretend that Star Trek 4 is the best one anymore.
I still think it is the best one.
Well, you have the right to your wrong opinion.
I was genuine when I was like, I enjoyed this more than Wrath of Khan.
I'm joking, but I still think Star Trek 6 is the best. But anyway,
well, we haven't got there
next time, but not this time.
Derek, what about you? When did you first come across Star Trek V?
Unlike I remember 4 in the theaters, I have no idea when I saw this as a kid. I guess it made that memorable impression on me. I remember the movie, but I'm guessing it was like Joseph with the VHS. Maybe I saw the movie. I don't. Gosh, yeah. This just kind of every time I see it, I forget about it. Not repressing it, but it just kind of floats. So I'm gonna say I don't know. Back when I was a kid, though, so many moons ago, when it first came out, within a year of it.
Hey, Derek, not to interrupt you, but does it make you feel odd a lot of people that'll be listening to this will have had their first experience watching films on a DVD? It certainly makes me feel old.
There are some people that have had their first experience watching it on a streaming service. So
yeah. I read an article the other day, and it was talking about Friends, because there's a big hoo-ha because of the Friends reunion. and it said Netflix viewers have spotted an error in an episode of Friends, and then it went on to say, like, for the first time ever, now that it's on Netflix, you can rewind it and rewatch bits of it, which was never possible before. And I'm like, do you think that, like, home entertainment began with Netflix and there was nothing before that? It was like, you know, we saw Friends once when it was on in 1994 and then it was gone to the mists of time. Like,
it should have been.
Oh, no, it shouldn't. Friends were great.
Joe.
But, like...
And the reunion show is good as well.
Yeah, we watched it the other day. You know what? It was heartwarming. But, yeah, I'm sorry. The cast of Friends would be considerably less rich if we hadn't all bought it on VHS, then on DVD. Anyway, Lainey, Star Trek 5.
Row your boat.
We're going to sing Row Row Your Boat now, did you say?
Yeah. On the cast of Friends reunion.
Oh, did they? No, they didn't.
No, they should
have
have
been singing.
The Phoebe sang Smelly Cat with Lady Gaga, though.
Yes, Gaga, yeah.
Magic moment.
Anywho, Final Frontier.
Yes.
So, I had never seen this film from start to finish until today.
Oh.
I'd seen bits of it. I think I'd start watching it and then something better would happen many times because I've seen the beginning a lot and I've seen Row 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 Your Boat lots, but I never really knew what happened. I knew there was a god in it and there was questions about why he needed a starship, but I'd never persevered the whole way through. So today was the first time I saw this film.
Awesome. And we'll save what you thought of it then for you.
Oh, no, I've got a summary.
Go on then.
Or a one-liner. I think it's a pretty decent episode of Star Trek.
Okay. We'll go with that. Yes, when did I... Yes, this is one, I think I've mentioned this on the previous ones where we were on holiday in Florida going to Disneyland and everything. They used to have these little pay-per-view boxes on top of the tellies in hotel rooms. Mm-hmm. And you could watch films that at the time were not coming out in England for who knows how long, because we used to... See, these people who think that Netflix invented rewinding, this'll blow your minds, kids. But we didn't used to have global simultaneous releases of films. We used to... In the UK, where it felt like months and months later.
Not as Australia, though. Those poor sods.
Well, yeah, and, China only got Star Wars a couple of years ago, and then they're like, oh, why didn't The Force Awakens do as well in China? Like, because there's no nostalgia for it, 'cause they haven't seen the original. Anyway, that's a different topic. So we had this pay-per-view box, and we were like, oh, let's watch Star Trek 5, because, Star Trek 4 were great. And I think I actually fell asleep during it because, we'd had a big, long, hard day out at Disneyland. So, yeah. And then we taped it off Sky and stuff. So I've seen this film more times than anybody should have.
I think I remember you saying that your dad forbid you to watch it, and that's why you took the opportunity to watch it.
No, that was the motion picture.
Sorry, I got confused.
He allowed me to watch this one. This was this one was pre-approved, so he evidently thinks this one's better than the motion picture. But so we watched it on the set-top box in America, and then it came onto Sky, and I've seen it a few times, and yeah,
it's nice. Some people had the opportunity to go to America and Disneyland and stuff.
Well, me dad was a big high flyer and stuff. Yeah, we did quite well. I bet that came off as a lot meaner than I meant it to. I apologise. Hey, don't bother me. I was just a kid. We're off to Disneyland. Okay, I'm not gonna go. Excuse me. I would rather not because of the lack of equality in British society. No. Sorry. But I think we should cut that out. No, that's not.
Came across as nasty.
No, if you want to get it in context, Joe, if this makes you feel better, yes, I went on a holiday to Florida to watch Disneyland, but I had to watch Star Trek 5, The Final Frontier.
Okay, I suppose it does balance it out.
It did balance it out. It did. Do you want to go to Universal Studios tomorrow? Is that where they filmed Star Trek 5? Because no. Like, no, that's Paramount. Oh, okay. Yes,
Well,
that
I
was
didn't do
that.
either, clearly. So I've never been to Disney, and I hadn't watched the film until today.
Well,
so,
let's all go to Disney. Let's, once.
Oh no, it's happening next year. Yeah, next year.
Are you going?
The in-laws want to take Logan when he's 5, so we're going next year.
Oh, very good. Hopefully, it'll be on
Nice.
on the green list by then.
Hopefully.
Like we.
About 5 years ago, I went to a conference at a hotel at Disney World in Florida, and I did not go to Disney World because that's how much I'm not a fan. But I had to go to this conference to present, and I just remember. Well, my wife and my I guess I only had one kid back then, so they went, but I avoided it because the only exposure I got was I went to a restaurant there at the hotel, and all the waiters were dressed as Disney characters. Not all the waiters. Just they had people roaming around like that. And Goofy accosted me.
Oh.
So it was kind of a little... he wouldn't let me go, and I'm just here
Don't
trying
you
to sit and
besmirch the name of Goofy?
No,
he's the best one.
He's the worst one to get accosted
He's the
by.
best one.
No, but if I was...
call me a putty nutty, that's me for Disney. Sorry, but too many people, too many crowds. But I love the movies.
Yeah. If I was going to get accosted by a Disney character, I think Goofy would be one of the ones I'd be most aggrieved at being accosted by. So, yeah, I can relate to hoo-hoo. That's Goofy, isn't it? Anyway.
Perhaps that was
He's a good father and an honourable man. So let's move on from that.
Okay,
Do they have all the Marvel characters walking around these days? Could you get accosted by Thanos?
This is interesting, not in Disneyland, Florida, because Universal have still got like a 10-year lease on it or something. So all the Marvel stuff is in Universal for now. And then because they had like a Marvel theme parky world before Disney bought Marvel, so it's really weird. So no doubt they're going to rebrand it all, so it won't be the Hulk roller coaster anymore. It'll be the Fast and Furious roller coaster thing. Anyway.
Fast and Furious bumper cars.
That'd be awesome.
Lenny, did you just pronounce Thanos as Thanos?
Yeah.
Thanos.
No, that's wrong. That makes it sound like anus.
I know. It was on purpose.
That's why you say it that way. It makes it sound.
Why am I saying it that way? No, it's on one of the Star Trek World trailers. Connor says it.
Yeah, Connor says it. We're just honouring it.
Thanos. Yeah.
I didn't.
So, Star Trek 5, pros. Who wants to go first?
Do it.
Or
I'll do it because I have a reasonable amount actually.
Oh.
For a start, I think that we'll start with the best bit, which is that the acting is relatively good all round. Not everyone, but once again, DeForest Kelly gets MVP award for being the best thing in the films. that scene with him and his dad, that was darn good. I think everyone else pretty much did a good job to me. I can't really think of any weak elements. I thought the guy playing Cybok was good. Like, no, it's on that man. I don't know his name. Forgot his name. I know him, but I've forgotten him. If you know what that means, if you've ever had that.
I think that's fair for that guy.
On the back, well, it was his first time, and obviously then he goes and plays some roles, including that Cardassian torture man from that really good episode.
Mm-hmm.
What else did I like? The music was good, as the music always, but got Mr. Goldsmith did a great job with that. I think that cinematography was good. Some of the set pieces and the way things were shot looked really good, especially like that initial thing on the desert planet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some of the scenes on the desert planet didn't look great, but the initial one where the guy's drilling for water, whatever, the holes in the ground, and then there's the galloping horse and the shimmering heat of the desert, that worked really well. I mean, some of the scene when they attacked the city, Paradise City, and it looks like someone just wrote the word, graffitied the word "lost" on the side of Paradise.
Mm-hmm.
That was clever. So little moments of that were pretty good, and the concept. Some people I know look at the concept and think, "Oh, why is Star Trek talking about religion?" Oh, come on, Star Trek's always talked about religion, and I think it had its breadth. I mean, I'd say did it have its heart in its right place? I think a lot of it did. I think they tried. They had some interesting things. It's just the execution that lets it down. I think it's fair to compare it to Star Trek 1, actually, in that that's another one where most of us said, this was a good idea, but in execution, not so much. So that's sort of my pros. I think most of the things held up well, aside from the writing. Unfortunately, the writing is so important that it's like having a stool with two legs. You need a third leg, otherwise you're just gonna fall over. So that's how I feel about that.
Okay, Derek, have you got any pros to add?
Sure, I got a few. I like that it was a little bit different to start out with. To kind of piggyback on what Lainey said, this would be a very good episode. I think it would be a very good 23-minute animated series episode. So like a 7 or 8 of just doing, especially the first parts where they just show everybody. The problem is then we see a camera shot of William Shatner's crotch climbing, and instead of like 10 seconds, it's like 2.5 minutes. So that kind of is representative of the movie for me. Little bits are great, but you extend it. As someone who works a lot with people at end of life, the McCoy scene was definitely, I agree with Joseph, that was a very powerful moment, I think. And definitely DeForest Kelley is the highlight acting wise. And the little moments like with Spock and the horse and, giving the nerve pinch to the horse was cool. The end, I like the end where it turns out Spock is the gunner on the Klingon Bird of Prey. That's very sentimental. As I get older, much older, the sentimental parts kind of affect me more. And I also have a little pro that the planet was Nimbus 3, right? 1, 2, 3? I'm trying to remember. Is it Nimbus 3?
3.
And one of my favorite shows of all time, Futurama, the ship that Zach Brannigan captains is called the Nimbus. So I like that they took it.
Probably.
Yes. So that made me very happy. I had the exact, when Joseph said, good idea, not great execution, that's actually what I wrote. I wrote good idea, meh execution. So I couldn't have said it better.
Lainey, what about you?
Okay, so I finished watching this thinking, why do people hate this so much? And I'll come on to it in the cons. I think Derek has touched on it there as well. But I thought there was a lot to enjoy here, and maybe I'm grasping at stuff that wasn't necessarily fully executed. But here goes. Top of my list is Bones, all the Bones. I think we've all said that, haven't we? I enjoyed Chekhov's decoy, saying that he was the captain whilst the mission was actually going on the planet, but I'll come to that in my cons. Sassy Sulu's manual landing. He's all like, well, I've not done it before, but so I enjoyed him. Sassy Sulu. Actually, an evil Vulcan as a concept, I thought that was actually quite good. Like there's this like renegade Vulcan, because Vulcans have always been sort of held up in quite high regard. I mean, you get to Enterprise and they're a bit like, oh, the Vulcans are really annoying, but up until this point, it's the Vulcans are they're like perfect and lovely and stuff. So having an evil one, I thought was quite interesting. It's not falling back on the Klingon thing, which they do in this film a little bit, I guess. They needed the evil Klingon buffer. But Scotty breaking into the brig. Do you want all of them, or shall I come back?
Yeah, keep going.
Keep going. Yeah, I like Scotty breaking into the brig and then just moments later walking into the pillar. I thought it was brilliant comedy. Really enjoyed that. Kirk's challenge to Cybok of like, if we lose our pain, we lose ourselves. I think I think that's very true. You know, you can't be the person you are if you haven't had the pain as well. If you take that away, then who are you? Other than some, I guess, brainwashed zombie, which they all did become. And that the trio's friendship was stronger than Cybok's brainwashing as well. So, like, even though Spock and Bones were kind of still under the influence, they were like, nah, no, we're not going to be following you. Kirk questioning God, a bit God in quotation marks. You know, I thought, you know, he asked the right questions. He was just sort of like, well, if you're God, then why do you need a starship? I know people say that, you know, to mock the film, but, you know, he wouldn't. They're all knowing. And you're like, how do you not know who I am? And why are you being mean if you're God? So I liked all that. And then, oh God, I'm still going. Sorry. I'm gonna get, I was like, are the writers trying to say, and I guess this is where it's like, was it executed the way they intended to? So are they saying that all gods, or all the gods that all these different people believe in, all stem from this one being who was extremely powerful and was imprisoned because they were so powerful at some point? Are they saying that God, as it's become known throughout the years, is actually like this evil, all-powerful thing? And I just like the concept of that.
I mean,
but they didn't lean on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's meant to purposely be vague. Because, I mean, at the very least, Shakari, the Vulcan's idea of where it is, housed that thing, and that thing claimed to be God. But the other, you know, there's nobody else knows where heaven or Eden or any of the other places are. You know what I mean? So it's almost like it's clear that the Vulcans probably had something to do with the imprisoning of the creature or the guy that calls himself God. But it's sort of vague, so you could take it as there isn't, but I don't think it specifically is says one way or the other.
Yeah,
I think that's probably safer that way.
I don't
it
think
was probably to not offend the Bible Belt.
Yeah,
or, I didn't want to alienate people from the film.
I don't think they fleshed out the idea as much as they probably should have done, because I find that fascinating as well, and I think it would have been really, really interesting to properly dig into that and to explore it. And there is the bit where, like, it before it takes on the guy with the beard, like, it flashes through other imagery that we associate with God and things. So that implication, Lainey, I think is there, but I just don't think they devote enough time or enough thought to it. Do
you think if it was made today that there would have been more emphasis on that? I just wonder if there was pressure to not drum the religion too much.
Maybe, but then I thought they were kind of going to go there in Discovery Season 2, and they kind of backed off from it there as well. It's like the first couple of episodes seem to be exploring, you know, what are angels and where does religion fit in and everything. And I was like, ooh, I'm really excited to see where this goes. And then it was kind of, no, we're not going to do that. So I think
it's because the Roddenberry thing is very much secular and possibly theistic. And as soon as he sort of got kicked up the ladder, I think people were like, well, this is kind of boring. Like, that doesn't make sense. There's always going to be religious people about. And that's sort of, you know, we wouldn't have had the Bajorans without it. So I think exploring that stuff's interesting, but taking a side, I don't think is really Star Trek's place to take a side one way or the other. I think a bit unfortunate if they decide to pull their punches, though, because I think they should. I mean, even speaking as a religious person, I think that if you're going to be challenging what people believe, what's the point of you being there? You know.
Yeah, I think if you're
Especially it's a science fiction thing.
I think if you're going to explore it, you need to go all out. But I do think Star Trek has pointedly avoided dealing with contemporary religions because, like,
Yeah.
we did explore religion with the Bajorans, and we came down very firmly on the things that they believe in do exist, and they worship them as gods.
Oh
but
yeah, they were
are,
wormhole aliens.
But they are, yeah.
But it's still fictional, isn't it? The Bajoran race is fictional. Whereas if
Yeah.
you start critiquing Christianity,
yeah, I don't
then
think
that's a real thing, and you're going to make people angry.
Yeah, I don't
I
think
just-
they could do an episode where they meet God, the Christian God, and go, well, he's actually an alien from what, I don't think they would do that, but...
And yet they did it with the Greek gods.
Yeah, but then are the Greek gods actively worshipped these days? I don't
Some
know.
people, it's a small amount. There are some people that do still believe in it, but it's a small amount. I think one thing we do know, though, and I think it's thing is, as I said, the Starfleet is clearly secular in that it does have that separation between state and religion, and I think that's. I mean, again, some people don't like that, but I'm all for that. Even as a religious person, just showing that stereotypes aren't always real. So I mean, it's does. I think Laney's right in this, that there's some of that there. I just think it was left intentionally vague, not necessarily to not upset people, but maybe just because a lot of people that they're working on it, some of them might be religious. In the end, it's just that idea of maybe it's better to just, I don't know.
Let
Maybe
everyone
just-
have their own interpretation of it.
Yeah, I think so. Did you have any more pros then, Lynn?
I do. I have three more.
Whoa. We'll have to send this podcast to William Shatner. This'll make his day.
I like Cord's cooperation at the end and him making Clark apologise. Like a little naughty schoolboy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was picking a photo on you to fill her out this film. When Kirk says, "Oh, I thought I was going to die," and Spock says, no, because you were never alone. What was I going to say? Yeah, that just ties it in nicely with the beginning. It's sort of like it wraps up, puts a little bow on it. It starts making you think when. I guess maybe we'll get to Generations and we'll have the debate about whether he did die on his own or not. And then my final one was, "Please, Captain, not in front of the Klingons."
Yeah.
That was a great line.
Yeah,
And
that's me done.
I think you guys have pretty much covered all, man. I like the camping scene at the start. So I do think that's a really good character scene with the three of them. I like that on Paradise City, Spock's rocking a face mask. It's like, yeah, go on, Spock, you preempted 2021 fashion there. I really like Kirk when they're in the brig and he has a bit of a temper tantrum with Spock and he's like, "I happen to know for a fact you've not got a brother. What you mean he's your brother? I don't believe it." And I think
It's a good thing you didn't hear about this.
Yeah, that'd have sent him over edge, yeah. But, yeah, I think much as we do deride Shatner at times for his acting, I do think he has his moments and he can be very good. And here he clearly is playing it for laughs and he does it very well. We talked about the idea of tackling religion, and, yeah, I had the Klingon apologising as well, because that's just funny that he makes him do it. Moving on to Neutral Zone then. I've actually got Kirk dying alone in the Neutral Zone because they make a big thing of it here and it's like Spock says, "Oh, impossible, you were never alone." It's like, he kind of was, apart from the God thing. So that's still kind of on your own. That's, I knew I'd die alone apart from the thing that kills me, maybe. But also, and we will talk about it when we get to Generations.
Yeah, couple of months' time we'll debate when exactly he dies.
Yeah, the fact that they don't necessarily follow up on that, I think it's a shame. The music, even though it's great, it is just reusing old music, and I think it's particularly cynical using the Star Trek 1/TNG music, because at this point TNG was out and was doing well, and it almost feels like trying to piggyback off of that, and it's like, no, TNG's claimed ownership of that now, so you shouldn't be using that, even though it originated in the motion picture. It just doesn't feel right, particularly with hindsight now, where we're so used to that as the TNG theme. It just feels out of place. And I might as well throw this one in a neutral zone. In Captain Kirk's autobiography that obviously he wrote, and because he's real, it retcons Star Trek V out of the continuity completely. And it says, you remember there's the episode where they leave a phaser behind by accident, and they're like, oh, I wonder how this will impact the society. And the one where they're all the gangsters, and they've developed it. So what it implies is that they accidentally left something, I think it's a phaser or a communicator, when they went to the gangster planet. And so they rebuilt their entire society based on Starfleet. And Star Trek V is actually them making a movie about their perception of Starfleet. So according to Captain Kirk's official autobiography, which is real, this film doesn't exist. And
that blows my mind.
Extra bit of trivia: when I was in my coma a couple of years ago, my brother Elliot read that chapter to me while I was in my coma. So no wonder I had funny dreams. So anyone else got any neutral zones?
I've got a few.
Go on.
Start off with it's more of a question I thought I'd raise to everyone. Cyborg's ability to take away. What was it?
Hypnosis.
Because it's weird because we know that Cyborg has that ability somehow, and the ability. I mean, it's weird because it's sort of, I don't know how to put it.
I'm with you on this.
Because on the one hand, it's treated like the whole brainwashing thing, right? Except that then Cyborg uses it to hold off the God thing for them enough to get scale. It seems like it's almost like, I don't know, was Cyborg using something that was good, bad thing? Like, he took away their pain, and that wasn't necessarily a bad thing, but then he then used that to then override their wills or something. Because, I mean, we do have Kirk saying, oh, I my pain. But then on the other hand, getting rid of pain is what kind of, or learning to deal with pain is still kind of psychiatry and psychology and all that, and counseling's for. It almost leaves it a bit of a bad message. It's all kind of weird. Again, this is the whole thing about it being badly written or not completely written. So I suppose I just see what I thought of that, really, because I'm not sure how I feel about that.
I guess you could say, because he's a very, Spock made a big deal about him being like a very intelligent, savvy cyborg. So he's a super intelligent, capable Vulcan, and he's embraced emotions. Perhaps the combination of those two things gives him this power of persuasion. Because Vulcans can manipulate thoughts, can't they?
I always feel like maybe we've got sort of jumbled up between two different versions of the script here. It's like, is it meant to be that Cyborg helps you deal with your pain and therefore you're grateful to him and are more likely to follow him of your own accord? Or is he literally brainwashing, mind controlling people? And I don't feel like it ever answers that sufficiently. And the way different people play it doesn't help. Like, some of them are clearly just being completely brainwashed, whereas some of them, like the guy at the beginning, it's like seems like he's just grateful to him and becomes a follower of him. So yeah, it's really strange. Again,
and he doesn't do it to Kirk, does he? Kirk's just sort of like, no, I'm not interested, and he just doesn't do it.
Yeah.
Like, do they have to be willing
I think you've got to be willing to let him show you your pain, but it just doesn't make sense because it's like, okay, so how did he take over the Enterprise? Because he would have had to have done it to everyone, one by one. And
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
yeah,
That would have taken an awful lot of time, unless they all got in a group circle and then
They have
like
a
little
limited
chain.
crew. Several times they say limited crew, and that does
very
actually talk them out of
good.
a lot of things. Some of my cons, I'm like, but limited
Good.
crew. See,
Excellent.
Very true.
I accept heartily that
There we go, then.
explanation.
Yep, makes sense. Any other neutral zones, anyone?
I was thinking about this, and I was thinking, okay, what are all the actors' pain that they have to take away? So if they were actually there, and I thought, okay, so George Takei is probably having to deal with Bill Shatner before they reconciled. That he wants that pain to go away. So Nichelle Nichols getting her voice replaced. She wants to let that pain go in the singing. Bill Shatner would probably say, I have no regrets. But then I thought maybe that Saturday Night Live sketch that he was in the 80s where he made fun of all the conventioners and asked the guy with fuck years if he kissed the girl.
He's very, very clear about the fact that he doesn't regret that. He stands by every word of it.
I think you were right first time. I don't think Shatner regrets anything, even though he probably should.
Except that he did, his autobiography writes out the thing. Okay, I know it's really by the real Jim Kirk, but like, was it co-written by by Shatner or someone else?
No, it's one of the Star Trek authors who wrote it.
I was going to say, well, then I think that sort of leads to your point of believing that it's true, then that he wouldn't regret anything.
Yeah.
And then I had just a couple for James Doohan, who was a World War II hero for Canada, actually. I don't want to know his pain because he's probably got way too much of the things he saw. And then for Leonard Nimoy, I don't know what his pain is, but it's definitely not the Bilbo Baggins song. That's awesome. But otherwise, in terms of neutral zones, that's about it. I mean, I got on, when I was watching this, I just started thinking of different tangents, which I guess kind of explains about the movie. But that's what I could come up with.
Cool. I'll get my cons out of the way then. They're not as numerous as they might have been. The Romulan ambassador woman on Paradise City has a really weird accent. Like, I don't know what it is, but it just kind of brought me out of it. Oh, like, that doesn't sound like a Romulan, which I know is a ridiculous thing to say because Romulans don't exist, But
Picard is now established as canon that there's different regions of Romulus.
Maybe she's from a different region.
She might be one of them Irish Romulans.
Maybe.
She doesn't act like a Romulan either, though.
No, it's just a weird performance. I like the bit where they're trying to think of the lyrics to Row, Row, Row Your Boat. And Shatner, Kirk Shatner, struggles with the fourth merrily. Like, he goes, they're talking about what the lyrics are, and he goes, merrily, 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 merrily. Really? Was that one a struggle? You couldn't work out that that's what it was? Very odd.
And the fact that was the best take and all.
Yeah. Just the special effects. I know they talked on the main cast about Industrial Light and Magic were too busy, blah, 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 blah. But these are just shocking, especially the spaceship effects are just so cheap and rubbish.
The guns.
Yeah,
the Klingon guns.
It's just awful. It's awful. Again, I think they mentioned on the main cast, but yeah, the Klingon guy who wants to shoot the shuttle down, it's just like, oh yeah, they're going to write operas about that, aren't they? The brave Klingon who shot a shuttle that didn't have warp speed or shields. Ooh, that'll be a good one. I don't like the jumpers that they're wearing for most of it. The landing party grey stuff. I've never seen anyone cosplaying them. And like, you will literally see Star Trek cosplayers wearing something that's in one scene for half a second. But they're rocking these for the whole film. Never seen it, ever. I and I know you can't help it because when you write something, obviously you don't know how technology and our understanding of the world and everything is going to evolve. But come on, there's a bit where Cybox says, people used to believe the Earth was flat. Columbus proved it was round. I'm sorry, Cybox, just go on YouTube for 5 minutes and I think you'll find out that it is in fact flat. So... we don't need this propaganda in a film.
Other opinions are available. The ancient who believed it was round.
Very true. And again, this one's really nitpicky, and we'd not really established Star Trek geography as much by this point, but they get to the centre of the galaxy in 5 minutes, so Voyager should have been able to get home in 10. It's not their fault because the Star Trek universe was a work in progress and they'd not established where we were and how big it was and everything. So, fair enough, but it just looks silly with hindsight. Why can you kill God with a Klingon disruptor but not with the torpedo that they fire down on it?
Convenient.
Yeah, nah. So, yeah, those are my main cons with this one. Lainey, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I'll start us off with the sexualization of Uhura.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, perhaps she's always been, the sexualized character, but they really, really go for it in this one, don't they?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not even just talking about the bizarre dance thing. Like, what, why? But she's all over Scotty.
Yeah, that's weird.
Like, right at the beginning, when she's all like, I bought you some snacks. And then in sickbay, it's like, what is all this about? Like, they were like, we need to give her something to do. I know, what, like, we'll sex her up a bit. Just makes me a bit angry. There's a lot of filler. Like, if you was to cut the filler out of this episode, it would episode. I even called it an episode. If you was to cut the filler out of this film, it would be an episode, and it would be an alright episode, like I said at the beginning.
Not the last film that would happen to.
Yeah, true. So, right, I might have missed something, but I've written, why would a brand new ship have so many problems?
And I
know that might have had a snag list maybe, but like the things fall into pieces. Did they go somewhere? I mean, Scotty does say, he says, let's see how far we can push her or something, and maybe everything exploded on them. But yeah, it's just a lot of problems for a brand new thing. Check your warranty. Going back to my pro of Chekhov's decoy, his decoy so that some old men can go and do a stealth attack. These old men are the best people that you've got to go and then that's where it comes back to like this limited. They've got this limited crew, so it's like it had to be the 3 old men that went and did like very physical. I mean, I suppose we did have Kirk climbing a massive mountain at the beginning, but I was watching closely, and he was doing some climbing, but then I thought actually he's kind of in this crevice that they could have put a ladder on, so he's probably just climbing a ladder. Kirk shouting, "Shoot him!" I thought it was a bit over the top. Like, do we just like murder people in Star Trek now, just straight off? Stun him maybe, but like, Bones. He was probably brainwashed at this point, but he just stopped being at all skeptical. His science side just completely went, and he just stopped questioning. And I thought, yeah, and obviously Kirk then went to do the questioning, but it feels as though perhaps Bones would have been doing a bit of that as well. And my last one is when the transporter is absolutely trashed. Why isn't there a reaction from Scotty? Because he spends the entire film working on this bloody transporter, and then like they use it once, and then it goes. There should have been a cutaway to Scotty and some colourful language.
Yeah,
that's it.
Derek.
Sure. A few things. totally agree with everything. When people mention it, it's just very slow to watch. Because I went on to the elliptical machine. I got all masked up to go to the gym. I spent 65 minutes on the elliptical, and I felt like they were still at the beginning. By the end of my turn. Usually when I watch a movie, it's like, oh, I'm just getting to the good part now. Or, it's all exciting and, it helps me get exercise. But this one, I just felt so slow that day. I think I burned fewer calories just because of the plot. They're kind of back. They sort of have to explain it that they don't only have an experienced crew, but they're kind of back to the old one ship in the quadrant.
Yeah, why didn't they just take a different ship? Like they say, we need a good crew. Well, put them on a ship that works.
Yeah, exactly. And I know other people love the fact that this 1701A is exactly the same, but I'm just like, if you're going to have a new ship, it should look a little different, especially when you have all these new things. But that one people probably yell at me about, but that's fine. Like some of that, we mentioned the special effects, the boots, Spock's boots, especially when they're in the ship and up the corridor, they're like completely attached to a rail because he doesn't.
Yeah,
it's like straight up. I was like, how convenient. It's
also doesn't the Enterprise only have about 15 decks anyway? But there's about 3,000 when they're going up that.
And I think we see like one of the decks twice.
Oh yeah.
Deck 25.
And also they're going up sequentially, whereas they don't. They go. The bridge is deck 1, and then anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's a little known fact that the shafts are actually in Mobius loops, so they're actually infinity. They speak out to bend physics. And the other con I had, which is just David Warner is a wonderful actor, but every time I see him on the screen, he's touching or feeling someone, be it the Romulan or I think at some point Chekhov. I'm sure they gave stream directions just like, put your hand on their shoulder, but it feels very like non-consensual, creepy, touchy-feely uncle kind of thing. So I'm definitely not for that.
Whereas we'd just like to say that is obviously a trait of that character, whereas Mr. David Warner, we hold in the absolute highest regard.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And his convention appearances and signings and talking with fans, right? Didn't someone meet him?
Oh, yeah, I've met him, and yes, he was immaculately behaved, and I didn't see him touch anyone in an uncalled for manner. Unlike
Goofy.
I will tell you guys after this the name of a actor who appeared at a convention who doesn't keep his hands to himself.
Oh my! Yeah. So definitely, I think it was part of the direction or the script. Definitely not him. So no, the way they had him, just his character was just felt very creepy. The way I saw him. Other than that. We've pretty much talked about it. It's not a bad movie. It's just a slow movie.
Yeah.
So it's quicker than the motion picture. Definitely, I appreciated that. But yeah, no. Overall, I think this. I don't know why it gets such a hard. I guess because it's coming in between 4 and 6. That it's kind of the low one, and I think it's probably the cheapest movie that television stations can buy, because I always see it at like between 2 and 4 a.m. Like the TV stations. So I'm guessing that's why people also have some people have a negative opinion. It's because it's the one you see in the middle of the night. But no, overall, I was pleasantly surprised at how not bad as I thought it was.
Joe, what about you?
This is funny because I was thinking I was going to come here with the most positive opinion, and then it turns out that's not. So I'm going to end up, weirdly enough, despite, again, generally being a semi-defender of this film, possibly also being the most negative towards it, because as a film, it's all right. However, as a Star Trek film, it basically destroys a lot of people's character. People are not in character. They are for their moments and their gags and everything, but just for a start, it just feels like an entire ego thing towards Kirk. For a start, completely useless. And again, we've talked about this before, but I don't like this trend. This whole idea of, Lainey's right when she pointed out, it's a new ship, why is it not working? And I thought to myself, well, it's still being built. But then they shouldn't have been put in that position. Where were all the other ships? And James said, well, why didn't you put them on another ship with them, with the experienced crew? And you're like, yeah, it's ridiculous. So there's that side of it. There's then there's the whole everyone's being brainwashed thing. Jim, you said about how you felt like it was halfway between brainwashed and halfway, and the other, they're just grateful. Well, there's a reason for that. The reason is this: when the actors who were most got to read the scripts, they were all aghast at the fact that their characters were going along with it. As far as they were all concerned, there's way that certainly the people that played Chekhov and Uhura and Sule, they all believed there was no way that their characters would do that. And to be honest, I can't see it. So you can see the brainwashing thing came in. Here's another bit of information that you might not have known. Originally, Spock and McCoy were going to side with Cybok, and Kirk was going to be the only one that said no. And then they basically turned around to, DeForest Kelly and Nimoy went to Shatner and said, no, this is ridiculous. You're doing that. There's you know us well enough to know that there's no way that McCoy and Spock would ever do that. And if you try and, we're not doing it. And he was like, well, we'll rewrite it then. And so he rewrites it, or him and Harv Bennett and the other people will rewrite it. So now, the other two decide to side with Kirk, fair enough. But everyone else gets ignored. And then they sort of fudge it with the whole brainwashing thing. So there's that. And just everything from the mountain climbing, when we watch Kirk climbing a mountain, everything about it, again, and it's not the thing, is that, again, I don't hate the movie, but when you watch it and you think about it, the fact that it feels like a Shatner ego project also takes some of the shine off what was there. And it's sad, really, because I think a version of this film could have happened. I mean, obviously, had there been no strike or had there been no ILM thing, it would have looked better. I think it could have been written better if they'd had more time, because I think there was pressure on them. But there's also that ego element, and it's sad, really, because I say we're right. Obviously, people got opinions. I think it's that element that makes a lot of people upset with this film, or did at the time. Because a lot of people grew up, obviously, with all these characters and seeing them act in ways that they wouldn't believe. So I think a lot of the people that hated this film most was not actually the general public. The general public were all right with it. It's actually got a reasonable score on Amazon. But it's the fans specifically that love the original series are the ones that had the most hatred for this film. And I can understand that. The only other two things I'll bring up is the guy. I mean, firstly, they're just there to kill God. Like, there's no other reason they're there, and that feels obvious. And I mean, I liked that bit where they got him to apologize, but he basically looks like the film of Cats. Just look at with his beard. And I half expected him to start singing that he was Rum Tum Tugger or something. And as for the Uhura thing. I see where you're coming from, Lainey. I came at it from a slightly different angle. I don't have a problem with Uhura being sexy maybe with her being sexualized, that's not good. I agree. But, Michelle Nichols is pretty. The problem is, though, is the film plays it off like a joke. It's spirited, like, in some ways. It's because the joke is that it, like, this, what's this, Stacey Cole sing, and she's doing a thing and she's singing lovely. Oh, and it's a horror. When you look at it, you think to yourself, that's a bit mean-spirited, isn't it? You're basically making her the butt of the joke, and that felt wrong to me. So that's my thing with the other things. I'm not sure how I feel about Scotty Uhura. I think it could have worked if there'd been any of that earlier on in the films, but there wasn't.
Or again. It's just...
Or again, yeah. Again, another thing that was plucked out of nowhere. So, again, it's weird because...
Was that maybe a Shatner wish list? Like he wanted to.
Yeah, again, it's just... Yeah, that ego thing. And again, it's not a bad... It would not be a bad film, but I can't watch this film without those things going through my head, even though it might not matter to me more than, because I'm not a massive original series fan, and I do understand that things have to change, and characters change too. I'm with all that stuff, but especially knowing that fact about that, William Shatner wanted Spock and McCoy to side with Cyborg. I can't really forget that because it just makes me think, man, if Mr. Shatner had less of an ego and if things had gotten a bit better, we would have got a pretty good movie.
Agreed.
And that's my cons.
So let's rank this one then in the great big list. So I think at the minute we've got Star Trek 4, Star Trek 2, Star Trek 3, Star Trek 1. I think this comes below 1. Does anyone want to put it anywhere else on there?
Oh my goodness. I'm going to be really unpopular because I enjoyed this more than 3.
Wow.
I put it above 1, I think. It's shorter than...
No, I'd say it's about equal with 1.
Yeah, I would agree.
Pretty much of the same ilk, really, when you think about it. They're both too long. They both feel off. They both would have been good if they'd really known what they were doing. I suppose I would only rank 1 slightly higher than because they hadn't tried it before. Whereas we have that string of we had 2 really great ones and a fairly good one. 3 being the fairly good one, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have 5. With the first one, you can forgive it a bit because I hadn't done a film before. Whereas this was preventable. So I would put it last for the moment. But certainly, I'm starting to question whether it is the worst Star Trek film.
So we've got 2 for last, 1 for above 3. So I think...
I'm happy to take between 3 and 1. But I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah, I think I'll concede it going up 1. Joe, are you happy to put it in above 1?
I mean, I think since Lainey and Derek have said that they would put it just above 1, I think as a consensus move, I think that's fair enough.
There we go.
Yeah, I mean, and again, it's I'd say it's close between the 2, so I don't really mind too much of that thing. They're certainly on the lower end of the scale.
We will grudgingly consent to putting it there, but I think this is the most controversial moment we've had in the ranking.
But again, just to point out, if this is, if this all one was the worst one, and again, we don't know that yet. It might turn out that, say, Nemesis or whatever will turn out. I don't know. I mean, I don't really hate Nemesis, but again, when you think of all the bad films out there, really bad films, it's
Oh yeah.
And I think people are cooling down on it. I think that as time is moving on, Star Trek 5 people are starting to say, yeah, it ain't great, but
Yeah, I can watch this and enjoy it, and as I say, I've watched it more times than I've watched many films that are much, much, much better. So, it's fine.
This might be controversial, but I would put it below Rocky 4 and Ant-Man and the Wasp. So, but above Rocky 5, but below Rocky 3.
But you see, Jim loves Rocky 5.
I do love Rocky 5. I'm the only person in the world who does, but I'm happy to stand by it. I think eventually Rocky 5 is going to be reappraised and it's going to be seen as a good film that holds its place in the Rocky canon.
I really need to.
Anyway, I think we have to sing Row, Row, Row Your Boat, don't we? So,
oh my God, who's going to... We have to decide an order.
Well, Joe's the singer, so... Joe, how are we going to do it?
Do say I'm the singer. Technically, I'm the singer. Anyway.
Does the next person come in on the second row of the person before?
So yeah, so after row your boat gently stream. So when the first person gets a stream, the second person can start on the row.
Ah, okay.
That's how it works.
So stream row. Okay.
Yeah.
Who
We need an order.
Who wants to go second?
I don't mind going second.
Okay, Lenny second. Derek, do you want to?
I'll go
Third.
third.
I'll
Bring
come
up
in
the rear,
last.
James.
And when do we stop?
When Joe stops.
When Joe stops, we just finish
We'll record enough of it. We'll just go on for long enough that then you
we'll
can
fade it. We'll fade it out. Okay, let me get the fader. I've got
This is
you.
going to be horrendous.
Well, yes, but you know,
So if I
it
just
turns out
fade,
to be better than Star Trek 5, we're not doing too badly.
if I just fade out the main mix, yeah, that'll work. Okay.
Okay.
Take it away, Joe.
And before we leave, we just wanted to say thank you very much again to Jeremy and all that lot for letting us do this. All that lot. Oh gosh, you know, aren't I such a wonderful person? Anyway, let's leave that. But yes, thank you for listening, everyone. And now we will serenade you in our own in our own personal style.
Famous.
Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but
Gently down the stream.
Row, row,
Merrily,
row,
merrily, 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 life is but a dream.
merrily, 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 life is but a dream.
Gently down the
Row,
stream.
row your boat
Row,
gently down the
row your boats gently down the stream.
Life is
Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Row, row, row your boat.
Up your shaft.